This is the Ottawa Senators Outlook. Here is your host, Jack Henry.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Ottawa Senators Outlook. I'm your host, Jack. This is my video recapping what's been going on in the Senators organization, the ins and outs. So let's get right to it. So obviously a couple weeks ago, the Senators made a hire for their front office, and they hired Rob DiMaio as Director of Player Personnel and Director of Pro Scouting. So his staff history: he was the Director of Pro Scouting for the St. Louis Blues from August of 2012 to October 5th, 2015. And then he was the Director of Player Personnel from October 16th, 2015 through May 2nd, 2022 for the St. Louis Blues. He was a very impactful piece to their front office, in which they won the Stanley Cup in 2019. And then most recently, for the last 2 seasons, he's been an assistant general manager for the Anaheim Ducks, as well as the general manager for their American Hockey League affiliate, the San Diego Gulls. He resigned on May 13, 2024, and then on the 21st, he takes the job in Ottawa with the 2 previous positions he had with St. Louis. I personally really like this hire because he is going to bring experience. He's been on the Cup-winning team in a front office. He knows what it takes to win. He's seen it, and this is just an asset for the front office. So they address their pro scouting, and all they really need to do now is their amateur scouting, which is going to have to happen later in the off season. Obviously, it's not going to happen right before the draft, which we're 4 weeks away from. But again, Rob DiMaio, Director of Player Personnel and Pro Scouting, I love this hire. So that's what's been going on in the front office. But let's go to the coaching staff. As most of you know, Travis Green took over as head coach for the Ottawa Senators, and we pretty much know what's going to be happening in terms of assistant coaches. So we're going to start off with, I would say, the most obvious one, and that was Nolan Baumgartner. He's going to be an assistant for the Ottawa Senators, and he was an assistant for the Vancouver Canucks on June 7th, 2017 until December 5th, 2021, which was the same day Travis Green got fired from the Vancouver Canucks, as Jim Benning, their former GM, did as well. So they cleaned house basically that day. They were expected to have a good season, and they just came out with a disastrous start. And Nolan Baumgartner, he's been an assistant for Travis Green for as long as he's been coaching, and he spent the last few moments as an assistant for the Manitoba Moose, the AHL affiliate of the Winnipeg Jets. And let's go to another big one, and that is Mike Yeo. So he's been around the league for quite some time now. Most recently, he was an assistant for the last 2 seasons for the Vancouver Canucks. He parted ways with them after they had a phenomenal season. He was in charge of their penalty kill, which was very instrumental to their success this season. But let's go over his overall staff history. He was an assistant coach for the Pittsburgh Penguins since December of 2005 until June 1st, 2010. He took over as the head coach of the Houston Aeros, which was the AHL affiliate of the Minnesota Wild. And on June 17, 2011, he took over as the head coach of the Wild. He had a connection there with former Pittsburgh Penguins assistant GM and Wild GM at the time, Chuck Fletcher, which is pretty much the connection there. He had that job until February 13, 2016. 3 months later, he takes an associate coach job for the St. Louis Blues under former head coach Ken Hitchcock, and he had that until February 1st, 2017, when he got fired. And then he took over as the head coach for Hitchcock on February 1st, 2017, and he had that job until November 20th, 2018, which obviously he was replaced, interim coach for the rest of the year, Craig Berube, who ended up winning the Stanley Cup, and he's obviously now on the Toronto Maple Leafs as their head coach. And then on May 6th, 2019, he goes back to the Flyers with Chuck Fletcher to be an assistant coach, and when Alain Vigneault gets fired on December 6, 2021, he takes over as interim coach for the rest of the season until May 2nd, 2022. And then July 1st of 2022, he takes over as the Vancouver Canucks assistant coach until May 28th. And here we are now. So he is going to be an assistant coach for the Ottawa Senators. And Daniel Alfredsson, who took over for Davis Payne when DJ Smith got fired, will also be returning to the bench. I love that hire as well, which also leaves room out for Jack Capuano. Obviously, he was most notably known as a head coach for the New York Islanders from 2011 to 2017, and the associate coach for the Ottawa Senators since June 6, 2019, which is basically when DJ Smith had the job. So, Jack Capuano, and one thing we didn't know, and when on December 18th, when DJ Smith and Davis Payne both got fired, something I do want to point out, Jacques Martin is 70 years old. He did not run practices, so Jack Capuano was one that actually ran practices for the rest of the year, which is probably why he didn't get fired, and his contract was up. They obviously don't renew it. So that's what's going on with Jack Capuano. There were some rumors earlier today with the Minnesota Wild, but we'll see where things go with that. So Jack Capuano is going to be parting ways with the Ottawa Senators. None of this is confirmed, but it's all but confirmed, to be honest with you. So expect Mike Yeo, Nolan Baumgartner, and Daniel Alfredsson to be assistant coaches. Jack Capuano is going to be out the door. And I'm assuming our video coach Mike King and goalie coach Justin Peters, who took over mid-season, will also be back, along with maybe assistant coach Ben Sexton, who took over since last season. But I'm not 100% sure on that, so we'll see if Ben Sexton returns, but it wouldn't be a shock either way. A few things I will say about this is I absolutely love the Mike Yeo hire. He actually has a ton of experience, even as a head coach. Obviously, his interim job with the Flyers wasn't phenomenal, and I would say his head coaching job with the Blues was to be honest with you. But his head coaching tenure with the Minnesota Wild was actually pretty decent. He had, obviously, the early years of the Zach Parise, Ryan Suter era with the Minnesota Wild, and he brought them to the playoffs consistently. Obviously, he was fired mid-season in 2016, but overall, Mike Yeo did a really good, solid job with the Minnesota Wild. So, credit to Mike Yeo, and I think this is a really good hire. Obviously, he has been able to run a power play, but he didn't with the Vancouver Canucks. He ran their penalty kill, so he can definitely help with the special teams. So, that is something the Senators desperately need, because our power play and penalty kill were absolutely abysmal last season. So, that will definitely help. Daniel Alfredsson, you know what you're getting. He's going to be helping the forwards, maybe the power play. I'm not 100% sure. But Nolan Baumgartner, he's going to be running the D. He ran the D with Travis Green in Vancouver. And a lot of people are outraged on this hire, and rightfully so. But the reason why I'm not is because when Travis Green got hired, I knew this was going to happen. I mean, Nolan Baumgartner, like I said, he's been coaching with Travis Green since Travis Green has been coaching. He coached Utica Comets from 2013 until he took the job with Vancouver in 2017. And basically we're here now. So Nolan Baumgartner, he's not been a great D coach, to be quite honest with you. He's well respected, but that's the same as Jack Capuano. So as much as Jack Capuano gets a lot of criticism, and sometimes rightfully so, because he hasn't been able to coach a good D at all, Nolan Baumgartner is probably just as worse, if not a slight upgrade, maybe even worse, but I'm not 100% sure. So maybe Nolan Baumgartner learned a few things since he got fired in 2021 by the Vancouver Canucks, but I'm not really excited about this hire, and I don't think anybody is. A lot of Vancouver Canucks fans have been warning Sens fans about Nolan Baumgartner, but I think we all know what we're going to get out of him, and it's not going to be great defense, but hopefully I'm wrong, but if it's not, at least I can say we expected it. But now let's go to the player development side, because there have been a couple of changes. 3 player development coaches have resigned, one of them being Senator alumni Wade Redden, and I'm just going to get a quick few thoughts on that one. I've heard a lot of rumors that the player development was country club, and that was like a thing with the old resume. There was absolutely no accountability. You knew it with the coaching staff or whatnot. And what I do like with the approach of this new resume is things are not going to be handed to you. You have to work and earn it. So that is a big plus for the Ottawa Senators. And listen, I know Wade Redden, that's going to be a tough pill to swallow for Sens fans. He is the second best defenseman to ever wear a Senators jersey. Obviously, the first, that award goes to Chris Phillips, obviously. But Wade Redden is the Senators legend. He's in the Ring of Honor for a reason. He's been a cornerstone to that Senators blue line since the mid to late 90s to when he was there in the 2000s. So, again, credit to Wade Redden, but he has a family in Alberta, I believe, so he gets to spend time with them, so at least he can be able to do that. But, again, just a lot of changes in the Senators organization. Obviously, the hire of Rob DeMaio in the front office, the coaching staff changes, and then in the player development. So we don't have really any indication on replacements as of yet, even though training camp, or at least development camp, will be happening sometime around next month. But I'll keep you on updates with everything. So I'm going to be making a couple videos in the future regarding draft stuff and who I think the Senators could draft at number 7. And before I go, I want to give the props to the Florida Panthers. They reached the Stanley Cup Final earlier tonight. They beat the New York Rangers in Game 6 2-1 to win the series 4-2. this is the first time since 2009 the runner-up has returned to the Stanley Cup Finals. Obviously, that was the Pittsburgh Penguins when they lost in 2008 and won it in 2009. So, again, credit to the Florida Panthers. And a fun fact, this is the 5th year in a row a team that plays in Florida is in the Stanley Cup Finals. So, obviously, the first 3 were the Tampa Bay Lightning. This 2 are the Florida Panthers. So, we'll see what happens. They will be playing the winner of the Dallas Stars-Edmonton Oilers series. And the Edmonton Oilers lead that series 3-2, so we'll see what happens in that one. So this should be a really good Stanley Cup Finals, even if it's Dallas against Florida or Edmonton versus Florida. I think we're in for a very good matchup, so I'm looking forward to it. But comment down below all your thoughts on the ins and outs of what's been going on in the Senators organization. A lot to wrap your head around, but hopefully I've been able to give you my thoughts, what's been going on as of late, obviously. So, again, comment down below your thoughts. But for now, this is Jeff from the Ottawa Senators Outlook, and go Sens go.
Thank you for watching this presentation of the Ottawa Senators Outlook. For more of this podcast, click on the videos on the left, and subscribe by clicking on the icon on the right. Thank you.